Tommy, talk.
I need a drink for this next one. It's called She Ladyboy. It was my first trip to Asia, spring of 1995. I was in Chiang Mai, which is the largest city in Thailand. I had just walked out of a place called Bar Beer. Now, Bar Beer was this huge structure with many little bars underneath it. It had a Thai boxing ring. If you ever saw Thai boxing, it was really cool. They play this weird snake charmer music. It's like, it's the craziest music you ever heard, while two guys try to beat the crap out of each other. And they had live music, and also, it was a great place anyways, you know. So I was just coming out of there, and I was walking towards the Soi, which is as alleyway street that my hotel was on, and I heard a voice saying, "You want massage?" I thought, oh, well, yeah, I'd like massage. You know, I got a bad back and take a massage. It says, oh, okay. So there's this girl on a scooter. So I went over. She jumped on. I said, jump on the back. So I jumped on the back. She reached around and grabbed me and pulled me on. I thought, my God, she's pretty strong. As we approached the hotel, there was a kid guarding the hotel. And she walked by him, and then I said to him, I said, "She okay?" He said, yeah, okay, yeah. I said, okay. So up to the room we went. In my room, she found my electric razor. She picked it up and examined it. You know, like it was the first time she ever saw one. I thought, oh, that's so cute. She probably never seen one before. Oh, I had a bottle of Mekong whiskey. I gave her a sip. And I watched her take a sip, and I noticed that she had a hair lip, much like a man would. And then I looked at her hips, and she didn't really narrow hips. And I didn't really know much about transgender people. They call them ladyboys in Thailand. That's the first name I knew transgender people as. Back in '95, it wasn't talked about a lot. So I didn't know that she was transgender. Then she went into the washroom, and I went out to the balcony, and the kid, I could see him standing down there. And I said, "Hey, she a man?" And he says, yeah, she a man. I said, "She ladyboy?" Yeah, she ladyboy. Oh, geez, So I walked back into the room, and she came out of the washroom, and she said, "What the matter?" I says, "You ladyboy, me no like ladyboy. You have to go now." So I went over to the door, I opened the door, and I stood by the door. And she reached down and picked up her coat, whatever she had with her, and walked up to the door, and she stood in front of me. She's about up to here, like quite short. And she looked up at me and said something like, wham! And she had the whole world in her hands, and my balls were not smiling, okay? My instant reaction to someone grabbing my balls was to go like this. I hit her in the chest like that. She went flying across the hall. And the last memory I have of her is her hitting her head against the door on the other side of the hallway. I slammed the door shut. She began throwing kicks at the door. She was trying to kick the door in. I don't know what she would have done if she kicked the door in. Probably would have kicked my balls off. I don't know. So anyways, eventually the kid comes up and escorts her out of the hotel, and I could hear her saying, why, as she walked down the hall. So eventually I went downstairs about a bottle of whiskey. I tried to give some to the kid, of course. He goes, no. I thanked him and stuff, and you know, and then he said to me, she's a thief and everybody knows she's a thief. And I thought, well, why the hell didn't you tell me that? Well, before we went into my room, I didn't know she was a ladyboy. I didn't know she was a thief. She stole my electric razor. She put her coat, something like this, over top of my razor and picked up the razor as she walked out of the room and stole my electric razor, which wasn't a really big deal. You know, she could have stole money or anything like that. So, yeah, she stole my razor. It was my first experience with a ladyboy, or transgender, but certainly wouldn't be my last. If you go to Thailand or the Philippines, you will probably meet transgender people. Treat them with respect like you would treat anybody else. Don't laugh at them and don't be afraid of them. Speak to them, talk to them. They're actually quite nice people, the ones I've met. This one was a thief. I remember hanging out with a transgender woman in Bangkok. I met her about 3 or 4 years ago. I was in Koh San Road in Bangkok, which is a very, very popular place for foreigners. What do they call us? Farang. And I met a transgender woman and I hung out with her for the day and we were walking around and I could see what she went through. There were these young foreign guys looking at her like, "Ugh." They didn't look at me, they looked at her and gave her this nasty look. You know, probably football hooligans or something, I don't know. And then we're sitting at some restaurant and some old Thai guy starts blabbing at her, calling her a thief and a whore and all this other stuff. I could see what a horrible time that she had, you know. And I met another transgender in the Philippines. I was at this bar hanging out with the bar girls, and he used to come to do their nails and their hair and stuff, and he used to call me his ass boy. He wasn't quite transformed. He still looked very much like a man. That's why I call him a he. Okay. I can't call a transgender a she unless the transgender looks like a she. This looked clearly like a man. That's why I said he. So he told me why he was changing to a transgender, and it was to get himself out of poverty. Okay? That's why in Philippines and Thailand, where there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of transgenders. It just seems to be one of the things that the people do to get out of poverty. Now you ask, how do they get out of poverty? By becoming a transgender. Well, it's like how some of the other women in poverty get out of it. They look for foreign boyfriends who take care of them and their families. So, you know, a lot of people don't realize what goes on in these countries. They just hear, oh, yeah, these people are that and those people are that. They don't know the situation they're in. You don't know the poverty that these people live in. They sleep on, some of them sleep on a floor, like 9 in one room on a floor. Have you ever slept on a floor before? I have. You wake up and you're goddamn sore. So I don't blame anybody for wanting to get out of that kind of poverty. I'd steal to get out of that. So there you go. If you ever meet transgender, you just treat them like anybody else. And always remember, no child deserves a useless parent. Feed, clothe, educate, and house your children well, or I'm going to give you such a slap